I just transmigrated into the smallest purple gourd on a primordial gourd vine, only to discover that the 6 other gourds growing alongside me also possessed signs of life. What surprised me even more was that the moment these 6 gourds sensed my awakening, they didn't hold anything back and poured all of their own primordial essence directly into me. It turns out that after transmigrating into this gourd, I had been submerged in a deep slumber for millions of years. Yet those 6 gourds had already awakened a million years ago. Consequently, they now firmly believed that my delayed awakening was because they had drained all the nutrients from the primordial gourd vine. I began to focus my spirit to sense everything clearly, while simultaneously pouring all my effort into fusing those 6 streams of primordial energy. Fast forward a million years to today, and I have finally refined and completely merged with the primordial energy gifted by the red gourd. From this stream of energy, I was shocked to sense a thread of the power of law. At that moment, I stood there, completely stunned and motionless. You must understand that the power of law is the supreme existence among the 3,000 great Daos, and in this entire primordial world, there is only one person capable of wielding such power, and that is none other than the great god Pangu, the creator of the world. Could the entity inside that red gourd be Pangu himself? But that sounds utterly preposterous. Didn't the great god Pangu perish during the great cataclysm of creation? My heart trembled, and after a moment of hesitation, I reached out toward the red gourd and called out, "Big brother, are you Pangu?" "Pangu? Who exactly is Pangu?" A deep, resonant voice echoed from within the red gourd. Hearing that tone, I was filled with confusion. The entity on the other side didn't seem to be lying. Over the next few million years, I successively absorbed the remaining 5 streams of primordial energy. The primordial energy from my second brother was particularly strange, allowing me to manipulate the flow of time at will. A bizarre time field even formed around my body, where 1 year of cultivation inside the gourd was equivalent to 100 years of hard training in the outside world. This also drastically accelerated my speed in absorbing the other streams of primordial energy. The primordial energy from my third brother revealed a similarly strange nature, helping me grasp the secrets of past and future lives. My understanding of divine Dao techniques rose to an entirely new level as a result. The primordial energy from my fourth brother granted me an understanding of the very essence of life and reincarnation. In just a few short millennia, I felt myself transforming into countless different forms. At one moment, I turned into a squid swimming through the rivers and seas. At another, I transformed into a noble steed galloping across the wilderness. And at times, I became a divine beast soaring through the 9 heavens. The primordial power of my 5th elder brother is simple yet overwhelming, functioning like a bottomless black hole, capable of devouring everything in existence without limit. The essence of my 6th elder sister is like a chaotic furnace, encompassing every element and every attribute found between heaven and earth, an indecipherable swirl of primordial chaos. With the primordial powers of all 6 of my older siblings being this ferocious, what exactly is mine? What on earth makes me stand out from the rest? I was filled with doubt. Since we share the same gourd and originate from the same source, and my 6 siblings are also heaven-defying, I shouldn't be too lackluster, right? After a long period of exploration and experimentation, I finally grasped my own innate specialty, which is the gift of natural enlightenment and a divine affinity for the Tao. To put it simply, I possess supernatural comprehension, where I can achieve double the results with only half the effort. Knowing full well how critical a strong foundation is in the primordial world, a wave of joy surged within me. My siblings each possess their own unique cultivation techniques. Perhaps if I fuse their primordial powers together, I might be able to create a peerless, unprecedented cultivation manual. No sooner said than done. I immediately began to focus on researching the path of cultivation. As the years rolled by, and after being tempered by the relentless passage of time, I finally succeeded in crafting an entirely new cultivation technique. This technique gathers the essence of my 6 siblings' primordial powers. I named it the Hongmeng Grand Dao Manual, and with my own technique in hand, I remained in the gourd to continue my cultivation in peace. The purple energy swirling around my body contains a mysterious power of heaven and earth, holding a fatal attraction for me. Instinctively, I felt that these strands of purple energy were far from simple. As for whether they were the legendary Hongmeng purple energy, I could not be certain yet. Since none of my 6 siblings had broken through their shells to take human form, I wasn't in a hurry and calmly focused on absorbing the primordial essence and energy. In the blink of an eye, millions of years passed. Today, as I was deeply immersed in my cultivation, I suddenly heard an explosion that shook the heavens and shattered the earth. I was instantly jolted awake, only to see the red gourd suddenly burst apart, and from within stepped a man with a massive muscular frame and a thick, full beard. The life forms in the remaining 5 gourds cheered in unison. "Congratulations to our eldest brother on taking human form. Congratulations to our eldest brother on your arrival." I quickly followed suit and shouted along with them. Congratulations on your emergence, big brother. The bearded giant roared with laughter. Keep cultivating hard, little ones, and one day you too will be able to break free from your shells. Zhang stretched his arms wide, soaking in the vast, ancient aura of this land. Suddenly, he frowned and muttered, "Why does this world feel so familiar? Why is there this inexplicable sense of bloodline connection? It feels as if it is drawing toward me." My heart trembled as I listened. Could our big brother truly be the giant Pangu? Even if he isn't the original Pangu himself, he is undoubtedly linked to him in a monumental way. Or perhaps, Big Brother is the reincarnation of Pangu, having merely lost the memories of his past life. Shortly after, the bearded giant circled the gourd vine. He returned to his original spot to continue his cultivation. He even took it upon himself to act as a guardian for his younger siblings. Furthermore, the bearded giant went out to gather some firewood. He built a fence around the gourd vine. He constructed a large village. He named it Hulu Village. And so, no one knows how many long years passed by. Today, while the bearded giant was out gathering firewood, a mysterious Taoist with a sage-like appearance suddenly appeared in the air before the gourd vine. He muttered in a low voice, "Truly, this is a remarkable innate gourd vine. And this innate gourd vine of yours has actually mutated. How strange, truly bizarre." As the old Taoist scrutinized the giant gourd, the fifth brother, with his fiery temper, shouted, "You stinking old man, who are you? What are you mumbling about over there? This gourd vine is actually gestating living beings. This is truly an unprecedented and unheard of marvel. Wait, according to the laws of nature, shouldn't there be 7 gourds on this vine? I only see 6 now. Could it be that one has already broken its shell and taken form?" The old Taoist exclaimed in utter shock. "You stinking old man, your mumbling is giving me a headache. Watch out, or Big Brother will come back and break your old bones. Get out of here." The fourth brother, hiding with the old Taoist, smiled and began to speak. "I, Hongjun, bear no ill will toward any of you. I simply feel a karmic connection with one among you." Hongjun, the heck, this old man is actually the Taoist ancestor of the Primordial Era. Upon hearing this, the color drained from my face in pure terror. You have to understand that in the original primordial legend, the 7 sacred gourds on the vine were taken by San Qing, Nua, Dongguang, Tai, Hongjun, and Haochen. However, Haochen shouldn't even be born yet. He's just a stubborn, mindless rock at this point. In other words, the sacred gourd that eventually belongs to Haochen was likely gifted to him by the Taoist ancestor Hongjun himself. When the ancestor mentioned a karmic connection with one of the gourds, he was likely referring to this very fate. Damn it, don't tell me he feels that connection with me. A sense of dread washed over me as I watched the Taoist ancestor point his finger directly at the purple gourd I was trapped in. This purple gourd shares a destiny with me, and today I shall take it away. With that, the ancestor stepped forward, ready to pluck the purple gourd. I am absolutely finished. He was definitely coming for me. I cursed him internally, consumed by a mountain of anxiety. "You old rotten priest, what do you think you're doing? If you dare touch a single hair on our 7th brother, we will skin you alive. Back off, you old geezer. Don't you dare lay a finger on our 7th brother. Are you tired of living? You old fossil, are you itching for a beating? You dare covet our 7th brother? Once I complete my transformation, I'll make sure to tear you to pieces." The entities inside the other 5 gourds were furious, shouting at him repeatedly, but sadly, since none of them could take human form yet, they could only watch helplessly as Hongjun's hand slowly reached toward me. At that very moment, when all hope seemed lost, a deep, cold snort suddenly echoed through the air. The Taoist ancestor's hand froze in midair. His entire body stiffened, as if he had been targeted by a primeval beast of terror, and he was visibly struck with intense dread. "Big brother, you're finally back. This old rotten priest is trying to steal our 7th brother. Hurry up and deal with him." Seeing the imposing figure appear behind the old man, the spirits in the other 5 gourds were overjoyed and shouted in unison. Daozu slowly turned his head to look at the bearded giant, only to feel an unparalleled surge of pressure radiating from the man's body. This was a sensation he had only ever felt from one person, Pangu, the very being he, as one of the 3,000 Chaos Demon gods, had once confronted. Back then, he had personally taken part in the siege against the great god Pangu. As a result, he was struck by a single swing of Pangu's axe, nearly suffering total soul destruction. Only a sliver of his true spirit managed to narrowly escape. It wasn't until after Pangu had split the heavens and established the world that he hid within the primordial realm to reincarnate and be reborn. Damn it, why is the pressure radiating from this guy so terrifyingly familiar? Could he actually be Pangu? But that is absolutely impossible. Pangu clearly fell long ago. Gazing at the bearded giant, Daozu couldn't help but swallow hard. He cupped his hands in a respectful salute and said, "Fellow Taoists, this humble Taoist meant no offense. It's just that this purple gourd is truly destined to be mine." "Destiny my foot," the bearded giant cursed. In an instant, man and axe merged into one, thrusting a massive blade toward the sky. With that momentum, he brought the axe crashing down toward Daozu. In that split second, the rusty, weathered axe suddenly erupted with 10,000 rays of brilliant light. It felt as if the entire strength of the primordial world had been harnessed into this single strike. Holy cow, this is way too powerful. Seeing the big brother in action for the first time, I couldn't help but be beyond excited. Daozu, on the other hand, never expected the bearded giant to attack without warning, nor did he anticipate the absolute, world-shaking power of that strike. If that axe connected, he would undoubtedly be obliterated on the spot, body and soul alike. Furthermore, the aura of the axe felt hauntingly familiar, stirring a deep, uncontrollable sense of dread in his heart. Daozu's expression shifted drastically, his eyes nearly bulging from their sockets. He hurriedly struck his own forehead, and a seven-colored cloud of light instantly manifested behind his head. Within that emerald cloud, glimpses of the vast, primordial world began to flicker. Outside, various divine treasures hung suspended in midair. Golden pearls, lotus flowers, and lanterns circled him in perfect rhythm. Like water dripping from the eaves of a roof, waves of mystical light cascaded down, radiating in all directions and sealing Daozu behind an impenetrable defense. It was my first time witnessing such a top-tier powerhouse battle in the primordial world, and to see an apex confrontation between two peerless experts like this. I couldn't help but widen my eyes, staring intently at the spectacle unfolding before me, terrified that I might miss a single detail. As expected, in the very next moment, the massive, brilliant axe cut through the air, unstoppable and carving a path of total destruction. Everything turned to dust in an instant. The heavenly celebration clouds were struck so hard their divine light scattered in every direction. The golden tassels, pearls, lotuses, and lanterns, along with countless other divine artifacts, were more than half destroyed. The Dao Ancestor himself was shaken to his core, staggering backward again and again. His face turned ghastly pale, and unable to hold it back, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at the elder brother with an expression of pure, unadulterated disbelief. "Big brother, well done. Teach that old priest a real lesson." The 5 remaining Gourds were ecstatic, cheering in unison at the top of their lungs. As for me, I stood there completely stunned, barely able to believe what my eyes were seeing. Just who was that? That was the undisputed #1 powerhouse of the primordial world, yet he had just been sent reeling and vomiting blood by a single blow from Big Brother. Even if the Dao Ancestor had not yet achieved sainthood at this moment, looking across the entire primordial realm, a being capable of forcing the Dao Ancestor to cough up blood in one strike likely doesn't exist yet. Not even the mighty demon ancestor Lohu could pull off such a feat. Does this mean, could Big Brother actually be the great god Pangu? However, I quickly dismissed that speculation. After all, the strength of the great god Pangu was far too heaven-defying, as he was a supreme existence who single-handedly wiped out 3,000 chaos demon gods. He was the one who relied on his own power to carve out the heavens and establish the earth. His cultivation level had likely touched the half-step great Dao realm, remaining only a single short step away from the true great Dao itself. And yet, with Big Brother being this formidable and wielding such terrifying power, could he be a reincarnated fragment of the great god Pangu's soul? A bold theory bloomed in my mind, making my heart race with relentless, mounting excitement. Oh my, this poor priest truly has no ill intent. Please, let us stop here. We shall meet again another time. The Dao Ancestor shot a deep, meaningful glance at the purple gourd where I resided, then cupped his hands toward the bearded giant, and transformed into a streak of light, fleeing into the distance in a pathetic display. The bearded giant tucked his gourd back into his waist and looked at his 6 siblings. "Are you all right?" The orange gourd shouted. "Big brother, we're fine. But that old priest was truly detestable. He actually tried to snatch our 7th brother away. Once I finish my transformation, I'm going to find that old priest and give him the thrashing of a lifetime. I want to smash that old priest's dog head too," the yellow gourd yelled in agreement. As for that is the Dao Ancestor Hongjun himself. Do you really think you can just pick a fight with him whenever you please? But come to think of it, every single one of my brothers and sisters is so absurdly overpowered that they might actually stand a chance against the Dao Ancestor. I couldn't help but speculate on the true identities of my siblings again, especially while being so fired up by the Dao Ancestor's presence. Every one of my siblings redoubled their cultivation efforts, all hoping to break through their shells and manifest into the world soon. Today, 2 massive explosions echoed from the vine. Before our eyes, the orange gourd and the golden gourd suddenly burst open. Emerging from the orange gourd was a burly man with the physique of a powerful guardian. As the radiance from the golden gourd faded, a fair-skinned scholar exuding an aura of refinement stepped out. "Congratulations, 2nd brother. 3rd brother has finally manifested." A rare smile appeared on the burly, bearded man's face. "Congratulations to 2nd brother and 3rd brother on your manifestation." The beings inside the remaining gourds took turns offering their congratulations. I quickly joined in to offer my own. Congratulations to second brother and third brother on manifesting into the world. You all must seize the time to cultivate, especially you, seventh brother. Your origin energy is the most fragile, so you must work even harder to refine it. As you command, second brother, I replied. After tens of millions of years spent side by side, I had long since begun to view these people as my true family. Third brother, do you still remember that old rotten Taoist? He actually dared to have designs on seventh brother. Now that we have manifested, why don't we go give that old man a lesson to vent our frustration? The burly man looked toward the fair-skinned scholar and proposed. Perfect. That sounds perfect. The scholar clapped his hands in approval. I listened in confusion and hurriedly spoke up. Second brother, third brother, that happened millions of years ago. Why not just let it go? Let's not go. Why shouldn't we go? Little seventh brother, don't tell me you're afraid that we can't defeat that rotten old Taoist? Second brother raised an eyebrow and asked. That's not it, second brother. That's not what I meant at all. In truth, that was exactly what I was thinking. But it wasn't the right time to say it out loud. Then, it's settled. Rest assured, we'll be back before you know it. The burly man flashed a wide grin, grabbed the scholar's hand, and turned to leave. But before they had taken more than a few steps, the burly man came to a sudden halt. He turned back and said, Before we head out, we must set up some defenses for the village. With that, the burly man reached out his massive hand and clawed sharply into the void. A brilliant seven-colored river instantly erupted, circling around Hulu village and sealing it off completely. Yet, there was something strange about the river he had pulled from thin air. It wasn't composed of ordinary water, but rather countless flowing streams of light. In the blink of an eye, this surging river looked no different from a standard body of water. Since the second brother has already made his move, I shall contribute a little something of my own. The scholar soared excitedly straight into the sky. His 3,000 strands of black hair danced wildly in the wind, and his hands moved with blinding speed through the air. Another massive, churning river manifested in the heavens, circling the village once more to form a colossal, spherical barrier. Strangely, the river summoned by the scholar wasn't made of water either, but consisted of endless, vibrant paintings. However, very quickly, this river also became indistinguishable from any ordinary stream. Having finished these tasks, the burly man and the scholar exchanged hearty laughs before stepping together into the void. I stood there, dazed, staring at the two massive rivers protecting our village. These two rivers, created by my second and third brothers, were truly beyond comprehension. Once I finally take human form, I am determined to explore those rivers for myself. After that, I returned to my focused cultivation. Days turned into months, and time quietly slipped by. Tens of thousands of years had passed since the burly man and the scholar had set out. Yet, they still hadn't returned. I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of secret anxiety. But my other brothers and sisters didn't seem worried in the slightest. They possessed absolute faith in the two of them. Then, today, the void suddenly rippled like the surface of a disturbed lake. The burly man and the scholar stepped out from within the void. In the burly man's hand, he carried a small beast with fur as white as snow. Brothers, we're home. Did anyone miss us? Seeing them return safe and sound, the heavy weight that had been pressing on my heart finally lifted. Second brother, third brother, you've finally returned. Seventh brother, it was a long journey, but we finally tracked down that Hongjun fellow and knocked his teeth out. It felt absolutely magnificent. The scholar excitedly threw a fruit sapling from his hand onto the ground. The moment the sapling touched the soil, it immediately took root and began to sprout. It bloomed with beautiful flowers that looked just like lotus blossoms. In the blink of an eye, 9 golden fruits ripened on the tree, with the characters for Hongjun seemingly shimmering on their surface. Hongjun? Could this actually be one of the 10 legendary innate spirit roots? Hongjun Li, the legendary plum tree? I stared in complete shock. This sapling was the very thing that old Taoist had knelt and begged for mercy to offer up. Holy crap, did the muscular brute and the scholar really beat the Dao Ancestor into such a pathetic state? My heart was trembling with disbelief, waves of shock crashing through my mind. The muscular brute tossed the small beast he was carrying onto the ground. With a wide grin, he said, "Seventh brother, this little thing looks pretty cute despite all that shaggy fur. From now on, you can just keep it as a pet. Consider it your companion. I am the sovereign of beasts." The small creature flew into a rage, letting out a roar like rolling thunder. But before it could finish, a heavy fist landed squarely on its head. The muscular brute glared. "If you don't want to be a dog, I'll turn you into soup." The small beast flinched, swallowing its words and shivering as it looked at the brute. It was clear that the brute had given it a very thorough lesson before. Over the following days, everyone focused on their cultivation in Hulu village, and they even gave the beast a name, Xiao Ba. Xiao Ba spent all day plotting how to escape from Hulu village, but it seemed to be deathly afraid, not even daring to step near the two massive rivers surrounding the village. Once, it almost fell into the river and drowned, but luckily I called the brute over in time to fish it out. Since then, Xiao Ba never dared to think about running away again. It stayed far away from the two rivers, obediently hunkering down in the village. In the blink of an eye, several 100,000 years passed by in a flash. Then one day, a streak of light suddenly shot toward the village from the outside. As the light faded, a figure was revealed. The person standing there was none other than the Dao Ancestor, Hongjun. Hongjun seemed wary of the two great rivers surrounding the village, so he cupped his hands from a distance and called out, "Fellow Taoists, Hongjun has come to pay a special visit." Well, this Hongjun is certainly persistent. He's come right. The burly man had been bored out of his mind, but as soon as he heard the commotion, he rushed out with excitement. Because of the vast distance and two strange massive rivers standing in the way, I couldn't clearly hear what they were saying, only catching a glimpse of the burly man waving two butcher knives and shouting. The Taoist ancestor looked wary, eventually forced to turn around and fly away in helplessness. The burly man returned inside, still grumbling in annoyance. The scholar spoke up, "Second brother, what did that old stinking Taoist want this time? That old fart wanted me to join him in breaking some immortal slaying sword formation, as if I have time for that kind of nonsense. Whoever wants to go, can go." The immortal slaying sword formation, you say? It seems we have reached the final phase of the longhand Great Tribulation. I whispered to myself, then my eyes suddenly lit up, and I quickly shouted out, "Second brother, third brother, I think you should agree to go with him." The burly man and the scholar were both stunned by this. "Little brother, what do you mean by that? Why on earth should we help that old stinking Taoist? I'm not asking you to help Hongjun fight his internal battles. I'm telling you to go and snatch up some treasures. That massive battle will undoubtedly result in countless casualties, meaning countless treasures will be left without an owner. If we don't take the opportunity to claim them, aren't we just handing them over to that old Taoist Hongjun?" The eyes of the burly man and the scholar lit up with greed. "Seventh brother makes sense. We are heading out." With that, the burly man grabbed the scholar and flew straight out of the village. As for me and the others, we stayed behind in the village to continue our cultivation. During this time, a terrifying aura suddenly radiated from the bearded man, enough to make anyone's heart skip a beat. I knew immediately that he had successfully attained the Tao and become a saint. After who knows how many years, the burly man and the scholar finally returned to the Hulu village together. The burly man flipped his hand, pulled out a pitch-black spear, and slammed it firmly into the ground. "Seventh brother, take a look. Is the quality of this spear decent?" I snatched it right from that old Taoist. I made Hongjun so furious he almost descended on the spot. I stared in disbelief. This was a supreme heavenly weapon of slaughter. The god-killing spear. I furrowed my brow, my heart trembling in shock. This really was the god-killing spear, forged from the stem of the 36th grade Chaos Green Lotus. Having been tempered by the very essence of heaven and earth, it became a supreme weapon. And the Chaos Green Lotus was once the soul-bound treasure of the great god Pangu himself. Big brother, that sounds familiar. Could you truly be the reincarnation of the great god Pangu? With that, the burly man pulled a black lotus flower from his chest and tossed it casually onto the ground. And this little black lotus is none other than the grade 12 world-destroying Black Lotus. I recognized the origin of the Black Lotus at a single glance and was overcome with joy. It seems I have gained quite a harvest as well. The scholar waved his large sleeve, and a small cauldron and an ancient-looking mirror instantly appeared on the ground. This is the Qiankun cauldron belonging to the ancestor Qiankun, and that mirror is the yin-yang precious mirror of the ancestor yin-yang. I was filled with delight once again. It seems the burly man and the scholar have returned with a truly bountiful harvest. Thinking of this, Hongjun must be absolutely furious right now. No, I should save that mirror for when little Lu takes human form. It will be perfect for her to use while putting on makeup. As for the small cauldron, I can just use it to boil water for tea. Hearing this, I nearly coughed up a mouthful of blood. This is a complete and utter waste of heavenly treasure. That mirror is the yin-yang precious mirror, a top-tier Xiantian spiritual treasure, and it's being relegated to a vanity tool. And that Qiankun cauldron, while also a top-tier Xiantian spiritual treasure, possesses the heaven-defying ability to revert postnatal objects back to their original state. It is a treasure that rivals even the Xiantian artifacts in power. If the gods and demons of the Honghuang world found out about this, they would surely drop dead from pure rage on the spot. The burly man laughed and said, "Seventh brother, you are a man. You should have some weapons to protect yourself. This god-slaying spear and the world-destroying Black Lotus offer both offense and defense, making them a perfect fit for you. Seventh brother, consider them yours." I beamed with a bright smile and replied, "Many thanks, second brother." In the days that followed, everyone continued to cultivate in peace within the Gourd village. But today, two terrifying auras suddenly erupted from the burly man and the scholar, shaking everyone to their core. Their energy surged, piercing through the 9 heavens and shaking the very firmament. The 2 great rivers outside the village instantly exploded, expanding countless times over until they could only be described as vast, boundless oceans, churning with waves that stretched beyond the horizon. I realized that the burly man and the scholar had both successfully achieved the Dao and become saints. In later generations, the 3 pure ones of Kunlun, with 3 saints in one family, were enough to shock the entire Hongmeng world. But now, this tiny Gourd village, even after the Great Dragon Hand calamity, has produced 3 saints. It is honestly absurdly powerful. Thinking of this, I began frantically absorbing the purple energy within the purple Gourd, determined to take human form and enter the world as soon as possible. However, what I find truly strange is that no matter how much purple energy I absorb, my cultivation level refuses to budge. It is as if some terrifying entity within my body is constantly diluting every bit of energy I take in. To uncover the reason, I specifically asked the bearded man, the muscular giant, and the scholar to examine me one by one, but none of them could detect anything unusual. Just then, the heavens and earth suddenly shifted in color. Dragons roared and tigers bellowed as massive surges of purple energy swept in from the east, and countless celestial visions manifested in the blink of an eye. This is Hongjun about to attain sainthood, I couldn't help but exclaim in shock. As expected, a thunderous voice instantly resonated throughout the entire Hongguang world. I, Hongjun, have today attained the great Hunyuan Dao and achieved the supreme status. Taking pity on all living beings and the hardships of cultivation, I have no sect, so 3,000 years from now, I shall open an altar to preach the Dao at Xiao Palace within the chaos. And anyone with destiny may come. Hearing this, the muscular giant curled his lip and muttered, "Isn't he just a Hunyuan saint?" Making such a scene, acting as if nobody else is a saint. At that moment, purple energy surged outside the Hula village, and a massive auspicious cloud covering 10,000 acres drifted over from the distance. Standing proudly atop the cloud was the Dao Ancestor Hongjun. Fellow Daoists of Hula village, there are some old debts from the past that we should settle properly now. Well, look at this old bastard. We weren't even looking to cause him trouble. But he actually dared to come knocking on our door. He's clearly courting death. The muscular giant flew into a rage, grabbed his 2 butcher knives, and stormed outside. The scholar also picked up the bamboo staff he kept with him and followed closely behind. Shortly after, I saw the muscular giant and the scholar drag the Dao Ancestor right off his cloud, pinning him to the ground and beating him black and blue. The poor Dao Ancestor didn't even have a chance to fight back. In the end, I saw the Dao Ancestor holding 24 light blue beads and a shimmering purple fairy sword, kneeling and begging repeatedly for mercy. Only after the muscular giant and the scholar took the beads and the fairy sword, acting as if he'd been granted a royal pardon, the Taoist ancestor scrambled away in a pathetic rush, fleeing into the distance. The brawny giant and the scholar returned in triumph, feeling incredibly pleased with their victory. Haha, refreshing. Truly, this is just too satisfying. The brawny giant then casually tossed those 24 beads into the massive river nearby. The scholar swung the immortal sword a few times, but finding it didn't quite suit his hand, he carelessly threw it into the same river outside the village. Good grief, what an absolute waste of heavenly treasures. Those 24 beads were most likely the legendary sea-calming pearls, and that immortal sword was undoubtedly the innate companion treasure of Hongjun, the Zixiao sword. My heart ached at the sight, and I felt anxious, but after a moment of reflection, I calmed down. Those 2 great rivers outside the village are bizarre and dangerous. Ordinary people can't even get close to them. With the sea-calming pearls and the Zixiao sword hidden inside, they are actually incredibly safe. I can simply fish them out once I've successfully completed my transformation. The only problem is, when will I actually be able to take human form? Even I have no idea. Second brother, third brother, whenever you 2 have some free time, why don't you swing by that guy's Zixiao Palace for a little visit? Why not bring back some more treasures for us? The brawny giant's eyes immediately lit up with excitement. In the days that followed, the brawny giant and the scholar lived a carefree life, eating, sleeping, and beating up Hongjun. Every time they returned from the outside, they would bring back a rare, priceless treasure or 2, only to toss all the loot they snatched from Hongjun straight into those 2 rivers outside the village. Days turned into months, and just like that, several hundred years flew by in the blink of an eye. Then one day, the massive innate vine that served as my true body began to shake violently. Could it be that one of my siblings is about to undergo transformation? I muttered to myself, filled with anticipation. No sooner had the words left my lips than the 3 remaining gourds, green, moss-colored, and blue, dropped from the vine simultaneously, slamming into the ground and creating 3 massive, deep craters. Immediately after, 3 earth-shattering explosions rang out. Flashes of green moss and blue light erupted in a brilliant display, and from the glow, 3 figures stepped out. As the green light faded, a middle-aged fisherman dressed in coarse cloth emerged. The mossy light vanished, revealing a large chubby fellow in grass-colored robes, looking exceptionally cheerful. Finally, the blue light shimmered, and a lovely young woman dressed in a long light blue gown stepped out. The 4th brother, 5th brother, and 6th sister have all emerged into the world. Now I am the only one left behind. When will I finally be able to take form and emerge myself? From that day on, the Gourd village saw the arrival of the fisherman 4th brother, the chef 5th brother, and the demoness 6th sister. Life in Gourd village quickly became much more vibrant and lively. The 4th brother, the fisherman, was a man of few words, cold and reclusive, never one for idle chatter. His favorite thing to do was head out to capture wandering spirits and lost ghosts, before tossing them into a mysterious, shimmering ring of 6-colored light. Strangely enough, once those spirits passed through the ring, they transformed into living, breathing livestock. Because of this, the village of Zhouqiu became filled with bustling herds and lively activity. The 5th brother, the chef, was a massive foodie whose culinary skills were absolutely legendary, constantly whipping up all sorts of exquisite delicacies in the kitchen. The 6th sister, the demoness, was the only woman in the village, but she loved to manage everything and everyone. However, thanks to her management, the entire Gourd village was kept in perfect, organized order. Days turned into months, and in the blink of an eye, several 100,000 years rushed by. On this day, 3 figures appeared outside the village. The trio consists of an old man, a middle-aged man, and a youth. These were none other than the 3 pure ones, formed from the primordial spirit of the Titan Pangu. The 3 pure ones arrived at the banks of the 2 great rivers, and, sensing something unusual, stood there muttering as they studied the area. Suddenly, Primordial Heavenly Lord caught sight of the Gourd village, nestled between the 2 rivers, and couldn't help but shout, "Is there anyone inside? We are the 3 pure ones, the true orthodox heirs of Pangu. We are just passing through, so we invite the Taoist brother inside to come out and meet us." Hearing these words, the burly man couldn't help but curse. What a racket! If it weren't for the fact that they are juniors, I would have gone out there and knocked them all unconscious. The bearded man stared at the 3 figures on the other side of the riverbank, and frowned, saying, "These 3 seem to have some sort of connection to me. They give me a feeling of strange familiarity, and yet I don't really like them. They are far too pretentious." The demoness 6th sister ran out of the house, shouting indignantly, "Exactly! Just one look at those 3 and you can tell they're nothing but trouble." The 5th brother, the chef, also rushed out from the kitchen, looking absolutely annoyed. "What on earth are those 3 jabbering about out there? It's so noisy I can't even focus on my cooking anymore." The fisherman 4th brother remained silent and withdrawn, quietly steering a leaf-shaped boat toward the riverbank. Seeing this, the 5th master and the devilish 6th sister immediately stepped forward to pursue them. It quickly became clear that their negotiations had failed, and both sides broke out into a fierce brawl. At first, I was a little worried, fearing that my 4th, 5th, and 6th siblings would be at a disadvantage. After all, the 3 pure ones are legendary powerhouses in the primordial world. As 3 of the 6 great sages, and with the immense backing of being formed from the Pangu essence, their strength was definitely not something to be underestimated. But after seeing them clash, I realized my worries were completely unfounded. 4th brother, the fisherman, faced off against Taishang Laojun, and I have no idea where he summoned such a massive army of paper soldiers from. Those paper soldiers rode paper horses, brandishing paper spears and blades, charging at Taishang Laojun with no regard for their own lives. They caught Taishang Laojun completely off guard, leaving him no room to mount a counterattack. On the other side, 5th Master clashed with Primordial Heaven Lord. Primordial Heaven Lord is an expert in artifact refining, and as soon as he attacked, he hurled countless magical treasures, each one carrying terrifying power. But 5th Master wasn't picky at all. He opened his mouth wide and swallowed every single one of those treasures whole. Primordial Heaven Lord was left completely stunned, standing there in a daze for a brief moment. Caught off guard, he was struck hard on the head by a heavy iron ladle wielded by 5th Master. The pain was so intense that Primordial Heaven Lord winced and shrieked in agony. Meanwhile, the devilish 6th sister faced off against the Master of the Heavens. At first, seeing his opponent was a woman, the Master of the Heavens hesitated to use his full strength, holding back his power with every strike. But he quickly realized he had made a mistake, and a grave one at that. This delicate-looking beauty before him was a complete powerhouse, effortlessly unleashing the 5-colored divine light. She cast all kinds of spells with ease, while terrifying chaos swords and flares of chaos flame roared toward him, beating the Master of the Heavens so badly that he could only flee for his life while clutching his head. Everyone in this Gourd village is an absolute freak of nature. However, the 3 pure ones are still top-tier legends of the primordial world, even if they were temporarily suppressed by my fourth. However, for the fourth, fifth, and sixth siblings, to secure a swift and total victory is certainly no easy feat, especially with Taishang Laojun wielding the heaven and earth Xuanhuang Linglong Pagoda. This supreme defensive artifact makes him virtually invincible, so defeating these three at once is proving to be a monumental challenge. Suddenly, my eyes lit up as I spotted Little Ba lying sluggishly on the ground. "Release the dog! Quickly release the dog!" Little Ba's ears twitched, as if he had clearly understood my command. The burly man sprinted past, landing a swift kick right on Little Ba's backside. Only then did it dawn on Little Ba that the dog I was talking about was actually him. "Damn it, do you really take me for some common cur? I am an ancient beast emperor." "Right, I can't let others know I'm an emperor. That would be far too embarrassing." Little Ba grumbled under his breath, stood up, and bolted toward the edge of the village. But as he reached the banks of the two great rivers, Little Ba suddenly slammed on the brakes. "Big boss, I can't get out." Without a second thought, the burly man rushed up and delivered another heavy kick to Little Ba's rear, launching him clean out of the village. Little Ba let out an excited roar that shook the heavens. Little Ba is a Shenni beast emperor from the Primordial Era, a dominant powerhouse who ruled his own territory back in ancient times, one whom even the Dragon, Phoenix, and Keelan clans would steer clear of. His roar echoed across the world, startling the three battling sages, the Sanqing, to their very cores. "Ah, what the hell, that's one massive dog!" Primordial Heavenly Lord blurted out, losing his composure in a moment of pure shock. Hearing this, Little Ba flew into a rage, let out a thunderous growl, and charged straight at the Sanqing. Caught off guard, the Primordial Heavenly Lord was tackled to the ground by Little Ba, who clamped his massive jaws onto his leg. Screaming in agony, the Primordial Heavenly Lord desperately cast an earth-escaping spell to flee into the distance. Taishang Laojun and Tongshan sect leader were so terrified by the sight that they stood frozen, their lapse in concentration allowing the fourth fisherman and the sixth demoness to seize the initiative and drive them back. They were sent flying for thousands of miles, and in their pathetic, disheveled state, they both quickly cast their own escape spells and scrambled to run away. The sixth demoness stood by the river, hands on her hips, laughing triumphantly. Little Ba glanced at the retreating trio and began to trot away, looking for a chance to escape. Just then, a pitch-black iron chain shot out from Hulao village, lassoed Little Ba's neck with pinpoint accuracy, and yanked him straight back. Time slipped by in silence, and after several tens of thousands of years, two strangers finally passed by the gates of Hulao village. These two individuals, one male and one female, both possessed the appearance of being half human and half snake. They seemed to notice something unusual about the two great rivers, and stopped in their tracks to observe. Unlike the rude and arrogant primordial Lord of Heaven, these two were not disrespectful at all. It seemed they were aware that a powerful deity resided within the village. They cupped their hands in a gesture of deep respect toward the village. With their half-human, half-snake forms, could these two be Fuxi and Nua? Xiao Ba, seeing two new visitors outside the village, had its fluffy ears stand straight up and excitedly asked, "Should I release the hounds?" Releasing the hounds was the only chance it ever had to sneak out of the village and cause some trouble. It had been waiting ages for someone to show up, so naturally it was beyond thrilled. "Release your head. What kind of hounds are you talking about? Can't you see they are bowing and showing respect to the village?" I retorted, feeling quite annoyed. Nua and Fuxi stood outside the village for a long time, bowed once more, and then turned and left. Hulu village returned to its usual peaceful state once again. Tens of thousands of years hurried past in the blink of an eye. Today, another young woman arrived outside the village. She stopped by the banks of the two great rivers and stood there in silence for a very long time. This person didn't bow or show any respect to the village at all. So should I release the hounds? Seeing someone else arrive, Xiao Ba immediately became excited again. "Release your head." The muscular giant kicked Xiao Ba, sending it whimpering away. The bearded giant walked over, looked at the woman outside the village, and frowned. This woman gives me a very intimate and familiar feeling. I raised an eyebrow as I listened. If the bearded giant feels that way, could this woman be a member of the Wu clan? Auras of earth and immense virtue radiated from her. Could she be Lady Haodu? "I also think this girl is quite impressive," I remarked. The muscular giant said with a wide, squinting grin. "Listen, since everyone thinks she's a good fit, and our seventh brother still doesn't have a wife, why don't we bring her into the village to be his wife? Think of all the nieces and nephews we'd have running around to play with." "Very good. That sounds excellent." The eyes of the muscular giant lit up with excitement. Good your head. I haven't even taken human form yet, brothers. I really haven't taken human form yet." I couldn't help but let out a sigh of complaint. What could a brat like that possibly know? When it comes to finding a wife, you have to act fast. Wait too long and all the good ones will be snatched up by someone else. The burly man declared. Once he finished speaking, Everyone turned toward the bearded man, waiting for him to make the final call. The bearded man spoke up. This girl is truly excellent. I quite like her. She would be a perfect match as a wife for little Seven. Upon hearing this, everyone in the village was overjoyed and rushed out toward the village outskirts. Meanwhile, Empress Hudu had arrived just outside Hulu village. When she caught sight of two massive rivers, she witnessed some truly bizarre phenomena swirling within those waters. Just as she was about to turn and leave, she saw a horde of monsters suddenly charging out from the village across the river. Fellow Taoists, what is the meaning of this? Empress Hutu was startled. This little girl doesn't look half bad. Come with us and be a wife to our seventh brother. Oh, and don't worry, even though our seventh brother hasn't taken human form yet, he is destined to be a legendary hero, and he certainly won't treat you poorly. What the hell? What kind of people are these? They've barely said a word, and they're already trying to make me marry their seventh brother. Empress Hutu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but that quickly turned into pure fury. You bunch of scoundrels, who on earth would want to marry your seventh brother? Well, the seventh brother's wife has quite a bit of spirit. I like it. Ha 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 ha. That's right, the seventh brother's wife certainly has a fiery personality. The people of Hulu village roared with arrogant laughter. Empress Hutu was absolutely livid. She let out a thunderous roar, manifesting her true ancestral witch form, and with her half-human, half-serpent body and 6 arms, she unleashed a flurry of strikes toward the strange crowd. But very quickly, she realized that every single one of these odd creatures possessed an absurd level of strength, and even the woman who appeared delicate was far beyond anything she could handle. Before long, Empress Hutu was bound tightly by the people of Hulu village and dragged forcibly toward the village. After being brought to Hulu village, the crowd pulled and pushed her toward the center of the village. Once inside, the burly man hauled Empress Hutu directly in front of me. Little brother, look at how we found you a wife. What do you think? I felt a wave of speechless frustration as I forced a bitter smile. Second brother, I haven't even taken human form yet. Oh, come on. Why are you worried about not being in human form? You can just transform whenever you're ready. Come now. First things first. Bow to the heavens and earth. Wait, what are you talking about? Bowing to the heavens and earth. Shouldn't we be bowing to our brothers and sisters first? Just like that, under the intense pressure of this band of bizarre characters, Hutu Nyang was forced to go through a wedding ceremony with a purple gourd. Hutu Nyang wanted to cry, but she had no tears left to shed. Fortunately, once the ceremony was over, those weirdos didn't demand anything even more outrageous. I was just as distressed as she was. These brothers and sisters of mine are truly overbearing. As time slipped by, Hutu Nyang had already been trapped in the Hulu village for quite a while. Hutu Nyang had originally intended to head to the Xiao Palace to listen to the Dao. Though in truth, it wasn't strictly just to listen to the teachings, but rather to find a different path of survival for the Wu clan. Yet who could have guessed she would end up kidnapped to this bizarre village? The more Hutu Nyang thought about it, the more wronged she felt, and she couldn't help but sit beneath the gourd vine and sob softly. Wife? I mean, fellow Taoist Howdu, this is all my siblings' fault. Please don't cry anymore. I will find a way to help you leave. I honestly couldn't bear to watch it anymore. Hutu Nyang's eyes lit up, staring at me with pure disbelief. You must keep your word, you hear? Hutu Nyang's radiant beauty seemed to glow even brighter as she looked at the purple gourd before her with growing curiosity. Just what kind of person is he, exactly? He seems decent enough, unlike those weirdos in the village who won't listen to a word of reason. Perhaps if he takes human form, he might not look too bad. Marrying him might not be entirely out of the question. What on earth am I thinking? This is absolutely ridiculous. I am the dignified ancestral Wu Hutu of the Wu clan. How could I possibly marry a purple gourd that hasn't even transformed yet? I turned toward my brothers and said, My dear brothers, you've already seen the ceremony finish. The marriage is done, so why don't we let this beautiful wife of mine go? She still has important matters to attend to, after all. That won't work. What if she doesn't come back after we let her go? Brothers, my wife truly has urgent matters to attend to. You should just let her go. The bearded brute stepped forward and said, Why don't we just release the seventh brother's wife? We don't even know when our seventh brother will be able to take human form, and keeping his wife trapped in this village will only drive her insane, sooner or later. Since the leader had spoken, though the others were a bit reluctant, none dared to object. Following that, Scholar escorted Hutu Nyang out of the village. Once Hutu Nyang had departed, Hulu village returned to its former peace. One day, the fifth master suddenly had a thought. We spend all our time in this village with nothing to do. Why don't we head to Xiao Palace and see what that old practitioner Hongjun is teaching? Just then, the fourth brother, Nu Fu, rarely spoke 3 words, while the sixth sister, the demoness, also rushed over excitedly saying, I want to go too. The fifth master asked, Second brother, Third brother, are you two coming with us? Not going. That old practitioner Hongjun was beaten by us until his teeth were scattered all over the floor. The path he teaches is completely beneath us and not worth listening to. If you guys want to go, just go yourselves. The bearded leader said. The fifth master acknowledged him, then rounded up Niu Fu and the sixth sister to set off from Hulu village together, flying toward Zixiao Palace deep within the chaos. Time flew by, and several thousand years passed in the blink of an eye. Today, the fourth brother, the fifth master, and the sixth sister all returned to Hulu village. The fifth master rubbed his round belly and cursed. It was all absolute garbage. What kind of nonsense was that old practitioner Hongjun spouting? It made absolutely no sense at all. If I had known, I wouldn't have gone. It was a total waste of my time and energy. The sixth sister stood to the side, hands on her hips, and joined in the rant. Those born between heaven and earth should stand tall and indomitable, following their own hearts when seeking the Tao and using sheer force to break through all techniques. That old practitioner is something else. He's perfectly content to be a lapdog for the heavenly Tao. Just then, someone suddenly flew to the edge of the village, cupped his hands, and called out, "Are the three fellow Taoists in? I, Donghua, have come specifically to pay a visit." Donghua, the Eastern Prince? What is he doing here? I said, filled with confusion. What does this guy want with our Hulu village? The fifth master was just as puzzled. He grabbed a massive iron ladle and marched straight toward the village outskirts. Standing atop the gourd vine, I cast my gaze into the distance, only to see fifth master and Dong Gong exchange a few words before clashing in an intense battle. As soon as Xiao Ba witnessed the scene, his ears pricked up, and he shouted in pure excitement, "Release the dog! Hurry, unleash the dog!" Fourth brother, the fisherman, immediately led Xiao Ba across two great rivers, and with a thunderous roar, the beast lunged straight toward Dong Gong. Caught off guard, Dong Gong panicked and turned to flee. He didn't make it far before Xiao Ba tackled him to the ground, unleashing a frenzy of savage bites. A moment later, a heart-wrenching, bone-chilling shriek escaped from Dong Gong's throat. He scrambled to unleash a blood escape technique, recklessly sacrificing his own life force, and transformed into a pathetic streak of crimson light, barely escaping with his life. Shortly after, fourth brother and fifth master returned to the village, Xiao Ba trailing right behind them. Fourth brother, fifth brother, what was that Dong Gong character doing in our Gourd village? The sixth sister, that terrifying demoness, spoke up to ask. That guy Dong Gong clearly doesn't know his place. He actually dared to claim he wanted to establish some purple mansion or whatever. He invited us to descend the mountain, babbling about a position second only to him, but above everyone else. I spat at him. He should really look in a mirror and check his own virtue before acting like he's someone important. Hearing this, I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. This Dong Gong was truly a textbook case of pure arrogance. No wonder he ultimately ended up meeting such a gruesome, shattered fate. After chasing Dong Gong away, life in Gourd village returned to its peaceful rhythm. One day, while I was deeply immersed in my cultivation, I suddenly snapped my eyes open and looked toward the edge of the village. The others followed suit, one by one gazing out beyond the village borders, only to see dark rolling clouds looming on the horizon, with demonic energy choking the sky, and within those dense layers of clouds stood gargantuan figures of demon gods. Their armor gleamed with a cold light, and their presence was overwhelming, a truly massive and formidable army. The two leaders in the front radiated an aura of scorching, terrifying heat. Dressed in imperial robes, they clearly held the status of supreme monarchs. One of them held a small golden bell in his hand that radiated an incredibly imposing and domineering power. That little bell gave me an oddly familiar feeling. The bearded man frowned and spoke up. Why overcomplicate things? Big brother. The burly man grinned from ear to ear, ready to charge out and snatch the small bell. The bearded man furrowed his brows. There is no need for that. I looked at this massive army of demon lords, thinking to myself that the two figures in front must be Dijun and Taiyi. What are they planning to do? Could it be that they are heading to attack Zifu? At that thought, my eyes immediately lit up. Brothers, it looks like the demon tribe is preparing to raid Zifu this time. Duke of the East is surely doomed, and our chance to strike it rich has finally arrived. When the burly man heard this, his eyes began to shine with greed. Little brother, what brilliant plan have you cooked up this time? Tell us quickly. With the demon army pulling out all the stops to strike Zifu, the demon heavenly court near Mount Buzhou will certainly be left undefended. You can transform into the likeness of the demon tribe, head over there, and clean out the demon treasury. At the same time, some of you can head over to Zifu. While the demons are busy tearing Zifu apart in the chaos, you can disguise yourselves as others and haul all of Zifu's treasures back here as well. A brilliant plan, truly a masterstroke. This is a classic case of killing two birds with one stone. The scholar clapped his hands in approval. The burly man let out a booming laugh and said, both the demon tribe and Zifu are top-tier powers in the primordial world. So they must have hoarded quite a mountain of treasures over the years, which just happens to be perfect for us to plunder. The bearded man frowned and warned, "When you go out, try to stay out of trouble. Otherwise, our Gourd village will never know peace. Don't worry, big brother. We will move like shadows and clear out both treasuries without a soul ever knowing." Afterward, everyone began to discuss the division of labor and how to coordinate the operation. The burly man took the fourth brother, the fisherman, to the demon heavenly court to handle the looting of the demon treasury. The scholar led the fifth brother, the thug, to Zifu to take care of the looting there. As for the bearded eldest brother, he preferred a quiet life, so he stayed behind in the village to chop wood. The demonic sixth sister also disliked the path of violence and chose not to join them. The burly man and the fisherman arrived outside the demon heavenly court, and after a brief moment of deliberation, they gave their bodies a quick shake, transforming into the spitting image of Dijun and Tai Yi, then strode arrogantly through the south heaven gate. The pair grabbed a random demon soldier and forced him to lead them straight to the entrance of the demon treasury. Once the pair stepped into the demon clan's treasury, they unleashed their ultimate divine abilities, cleaning the entire vault out without leaving a single thing behind. It wasn't until they had already departed the heavenly court that the demon clan sensed something was wrong, and upon rushing into their treasury, they were left in absolute stunned silence. Meanwhile, Tutai and Chutulaungu were flying straight toward the mansion. As they neared the gates, they spotted two figures dressed in peculiar robes, one tall and thin, the other short and round. These two were none other than the Western sages, Jieyin and Jun Ti. Observing from the sidelines for a brief moment, our duo hatched a devious plan. They used their powers to shapeshift into the exact likeness of Jieyin and Jun Ti. Then, with an air of complete arrogance, they strode boldly into the Z mansion. At that very moment, Dijun Taiyi, the demon master Kun Peng, and the 10 great demon beasts were preoccupied, fully focused on purging the high-ranking members of the Z mansion. Dong Wanggong and the 4 Xuan kings were fighting for their own survival, completely oblivious to the 2 impostors walking among them. The pair stormed straight into the Z mansion's treasury, looted the entire place clean, and sauntered back out as if they owned the building. While making their exit, they noticed a group of demons surrounding a lone fighter. Though exhausted and pushed to the limit, the warrior fought with desperate ferocity, refusing to back down, clearly caught in a corner like a cornered beast. It was a girl, and a remarkably beautiful one at that. Tutai chuckled and remarked, "Where is the girl you're talking about? Where are you looking?" Chutulaungu asked in a hurry. Tutai curled his lip and pointed at the person under siege. "Is that person actually a woman disguised as a man? But since our 7th brother already has a wife, why don't we snatch this beauty up and take her back to be his concubine?" Chutulaungu snickered. "That actually sounds like a plan. Why don't we just save her first and see how it goes?" In an instant, the two transformed into streaks of brilliant light, darting forward to snatch the disguised woman away and dropping her safely atop a nearby peak. Tatai and Chutulaungu set the girl down, finally dropping their disguises to reveal their true forms. The girl quickly clasped her hands in gratitude. Xuan Nu thanks these 2 seniors for their life-saving intervention. Tutai grinned from ear to ear. No need for formalities, none at all. As he spoke, Tutai scanned Xuan Nu from head to toe, secretly weighing in his mind whether he should really bring her back as a concubine for his brother. Chutulaungu rolled his eyes. He pulled Tutai aside and whispered, "Third brother, big brother specifically warned us not to cause any unnecessary trouble. If we really try to bring home another wife for our 7th brother, the 2 of us are definitely going to get an earful when we get back." Tutai nodded, took one last look at Xuan Nu, then grabbed Chutulaungu and tore through the void to make their escape. Just as the pair was about to head back to Hulu village, they suddenly spotted the figure of Taishang Laojun. Taishang Laojun stands there, intently observing the dragon-headed staff in his hand. This isn't just any staff. It is the legendary treasure bestowed upon Duke Dongwang by the Dao Ancestor Hongjun himself. You can tell at a glance that this staff is far from ordinary. And indeed, it is truly extraordinary. Scholar and his master exchange a meaningful look. The scholar instantly cloaks his presence, moving silently without a sound until he is directly behind Taishang Laojun, then raises the bamboo staff in his hand and strikes a heavy blow to the back of Taishang Laojun's head. Caught completely off guard, Taishang Laojun collapses and loses consciousness on the spot. The scholar has already attained the status of a saint, while Taishang Laojun has yet to achieve the Dao and reach sainthood, so knocking him out cold is nothing more than child's play. The scholar snatches the dragon-headed staff from the ground and transforms into a streak of light, vanishing toward Hulu village. By the time he returns to Hulu village, the burly man and fisherman Lao Si have already made it back. At this moment, the burly man and fisherman Lao Si are boasting loudly throughout the village about how easily they managed to plunder the demon tribe's treasury. "Third brother, 4th brother, you're both back? I see the scholar and fisherman Lao Si and immediately cheer. One look at their faces and it's clear they've brought back an incredible haul. Third brother, fourth brother, you didn't let your identity slip, did you? The bearded man asks with concern. Of course, we didn't get caught. On the way, we ran into two figures in Western attire. One tall, one short, one fat, one thin. So we shifted our appearances to match theirs. That's how we successfully pulled off the heist. The demon tribe will never suspect it was us. The scholar laughs as he speaks. Could these figures in Western attire be Jiayin and Junti from the West? I listen, stunned, while struggling to contain a burst of laughter. That poor Jiayin and Junti. They've been set up terribly by the scholar and the fifth master. When Dijun and Donghuang Taiyi eventually launch an investigation, they'll surely pin the blame directly on Jiayin and Junti. We are in the era where the Wu and demon tribes dominate the primordial world. Even saints would steer clear of their massive armies. When Dijun Taiyi and their forces return from their campaign against Zifu only to find their treasury looted, they fly into a volcanic rage. After a brief interrogation, scouts report that it was the work of two Western monks, and other members of the demon tribe confirm they spotted Jiayin and Junti lurking near Zifu. Just then, another frantic report arrives, revealing that the demon tribe's heavenly court treasury had. Dijun and Taiyi were absolutely livid the moment they heard those words. Their campaign against Zifu had already cost them dearly, and now, to add insult to injury, someone else had swooped in and snatched all the spoils. Without a second thought, Dijun and Taiyi rallied their 100 million-strong demon army and marched straight toward the Western world to confront the unsuspecting Jiayin and Junti. The two of them were still completely dazed, having absolutely no clue what had actually transpired. With blank expressions, they asked Dijun and Taiyi why they were attacking the Western world. Dijun and Taiyi, convinced that they were just putting on a shameless act, flew into a blind rage and ordered the total annihilation of the Western realm. Everywhere the demon army marched, they left nothing but desolation, and in the blink of an eye, the wretched Western world was reduced to ruins. Mount Sumeru was battered into fragments, and its spiritual veins were completely obliterated. If it weren't for the fact that Jiayin and Junti possessed profound magical powers, and managed to use a secret technique to escape in the nick of time, they surely would have perished right there in the Western world. And as for that Taishang Laojun fellow, after being blindsided by a strike to the back of his head, he was seething with fury, scouring the entire world to hunt down the person who ambushed him. I chuckled and said, "Fifth brother, you aren't suffering at all, not even a little bit." You see, the level of shamelessness these two possess is easily ranked first and second in the entire primordial world, maybe even more shameless than third brother himself. Scholar heard this, dark lines immediately appearing on his forehead as he sighed. Seventh brother, exactly where am I shameless? I honestly don't see myself as shameless at all. About that, third brother, you really don't see just how shameless you are. Life in the village was always overflowing with joy, and the scholar, our third brother, always loved wandering about, even enjoying playing the fortune teller for others. Upon returning, he would share all sorts of fascinating stories from across the primordial world with everyone in the village. Hearing his tales, I longed even more for the wild and turbulent great world beyond, so I poured all my effort into absorbing the purple energy, hoping to quickly take human form and head out to see the vast world for myself. Time flew like an arrow, and before we knew it, 30,000 years had passed. In the blink of an eye, the day arrived for the Dao Ancestor to preach at Xiao Palace. The Dao Ancestor was on edge, his nerves frayed, terrified that the folks from Hulu Village would show up again to stir up trouble during his sermon. Luckily, after finding the first lecture rather boring, the people from Hulu Village didn't bother showing up for the second one. The sermon proceeded remarkably smoothly. Today the scholar, our third brother, headed out again. When he returned, he was practically vibrating with excitement, and with a grand wave of his sleeve, the ground was suddenly covered in flat peaches. They were piled up like a small mountain. I was so stunned that I stood there frozen, my mouth twitching as I let out a bitter laugh. Third brother, did you raid West Kunlun? Little brother, how did you know? The scholarly third brother asked excitedly, gesturing wildly with his hands. The Queen Mother of the West is about to host the Flat Peach Banquet at West Kunlun, so I went over there and brought back all of her flat peaches. Let's see how they plan on holding that banquet now. I felt a massive headache coming on and smiled bitterly. Third brother, you've really put them in a tight spot with this one. The scholarly third brother paused, then pouted and said, Seventh brother, is it really that serious? I only took a few peaches from her. How could that possibly harm her? I gave a weary smile. Third brother, there is something you don't know. The Queen Mother of the West is hosting this banquet specifically to recruit the gods and demons of the primordial realm, all to defend West Kunlun against the demon clan. Besides, those demons just destroyed the Eastern King Duke a few days ago. They definitely have their sights set on the Queen Mother next. The scholarly third brother stroked the beard on his chin, muttering to himself, while second brother rolled his eyes, pouting as he said, "Old third, people are trying to host a banquet, and you ended up bringing every single peach back here. The Queen Mother is likely going to offend the primordial gods now. Isn't that exactly because of your meddling?" The scholarly third brother nodded with a bitter smile. "I just wanted to snag a few peaches for us. I didn't mean to cause her any trouble. Since the karma started with me, I suppose I should go pay them a visit." With that, the scholarly third brother turned and walked out of the village. Everyone else in the village just shook their heads and chuckled, going back to their own business. Fifth brother stepped forward, picked up a flat peach, took a bite, and smacked his lips. "This peach tastes pretty bland. It's not nearly as good as those golden pears." Having said that, fifth brother simply walked away. Stuck inside this gourd, I couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. Although the flat peach is ranked among the 10 great primordial spirit roots, it's not even in the same league as the golden pears. The best flat peaches take 10,000 years to ripen, but the golden pears take a grueling 30,000 years. Furthermore, they only produce 9 fruits at a time, making them the undisputed kings of all fruits in the primordial realm. Naturally, these flat peaches can't even compare. However, if the gods and demons of the primordial realm heard fifth brother say that, who knows how many of them would fly into a rage. The flat peach is a divine treasure of heaven and earth, and one of the 10 great primordial spirit roots. Others would kill for just a single one, but he actually had the nerve to complain that it didn't taste good. Things on the other side played out exactly as I had predicted. Queen Mother of the West had brought out every flat peach harvested over the last few 100,000 years to host the Grand Peach Banquet, all in an attempt to recruit the ancient gods and demons so the demon tribe wouldn't dare make a move. But at the critical moment, those peaches had mysteriously vanished into thin air. The Grand Peach Banquet turned into a total disaster, and the gathered gods and demons waited in vain without seeing a single peach, only to eventually realize they had been completely played by the Queen Mother of the West. So they all left in a fit of rage, storming out of the venue. The Queen Mother of the West was on the verge of tears. Meanwhile, the demon tribe learned that the banquet had fallen through, and overjoyed, they led an army of 10,000 demons under the command of Dongwang Taiyi to assault West Kunlun. Panicked by the news, the Queen Mother of the West hurriedly sent messengers to summon various gods and demons for aid. But not a single one was willing to help, as they all knew that offending the demon tribe never ended well. Inside the Great Hall of West Kunlun, the Queen Mother of the West looked completely drained and devastated, sitting on her throne in a daze, terrified that the demon tribe would break through at any second. Just then, a young woman walked in. This woman was none other than Nine Heaven's profound maiden, whom the third brother scholar and fifth brother master had rescued previously. She had originally been one of the 4 Xuan kings of the Purple Mansion under the Eastern King Duke. After the Purple Mansion was destroyed, she transitioned to become a disciple under the Queen Mother of the West. Seeing her disciple, the Queen Mother of the West stood up in a hurry and asked, "Profound maiden, has the demon tribe arrived?" With a strange look on her face, the Nine Heavens profound maiden replied, "Master, the demon tribe has retreated." Retreated? Why on earth would the demon tribe retreat? The Queen Mother of the West stood frozen, utterly bewildered. The Nine Heavens profound maiden continued, "Master, I heard that as the demon army was marching halfway there, a massive hand suddenly descended from the sky, slamming into the ground with enough force to create a gargantuan crater, leaving a handprint that stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. The demon tribe was terrified and withdrew their forces. I was wondering which great deity you invited to drive them back. That, to be honest, I have no idea which divine." The Queen Mother of the West gave a bitter smile. "Master, do you not know either?" The Nine Heavens mysterious maiden looked equally bewildered, as the matter had become a complete mystery. As for the demon clan, they speculated that the one who intervened was the Dao Ancestor. After all, the demon clan had already destroyed the Duke of the East, who was personally ordained by the Dao Ancestor. Now that they intended to wipe out the Queen Mother of the West, how could the Dao Ancestor not be furious? Consequently, the demon clan completely abandoned their plans to attack the Queen Mother of the West. Today, the third brother, the scholar, returned from outside, shouting loudly, "Big news, big news! Third brother, why are you in such a panic?" The fifth brother, the master chef, ran out from the kitchen wielding a large iron ladle, and I looked at the scholar with curiosity as well. I had no idea what could have happened. The Wu clan of our 7th younger brother's wife got into a fight with the demon clan, and they sent those demons running for their lives. The third brother, the scholar explained. The second brother, the butcher, rolled his eyes and scoffed. "Isn't that a good thing? Our 7th brother's wife is truly impressive." The third brother hurriedly added, "It was a good thing at first, but that old priest Hongjun suddenly appeared, defeated the Wu clan of our 7th brother's wife, and even injured her, claiming something about how the demons should rule the sky while the Wu should rule the earth. I curled my lips, realizing the scholar must be talking about the first great war between the Wu and the demon clans. The Dao Ancestor appeared to stop them, using just one finger to shatter the 12 divine puppet formation of the Wu clan. Upon hearing this, the second brother, the butcher, immediately erupted in anger. What? That foul old priest Hongjun is asking for a beating, daring to injure the wife of our seventh brother. Let's go and give that rotten priest a lesson he won't soon forget. We must teach him a lesson. Daring to hurt our seventh brother's wife is nothing short of a death wish. The fifth brother slammed his iron ladle onto the ground, shattering a large rock into pieces instantly. The sixth sister stood with her hands on her hips and roared, "That damned priest Hongjun, daring to touch someone from our Hulu village. He's clearly itching for a fight." Although the fourth brother remained silent, a cold light flashed in his eyes, showing he was just as eager to punish Hongjun. The eldest brother stepped forward and spoke. "Fourth, fifth, sixth, you have yet to attain sainthood, so there is no need for you to go. Second, third, we shall take turns paying a visit to the Xiao Palace." The second brother and the scholar excitedly agreed. "It has been a long time. It's about time I went out to stretch my limbs." The eldest brother took a single step forward, walking toward the chaos. Over the following days, the eldest brother, the butcher second brother, and the scholar third brother took turns visiting Xiao Palace to debate the Dao with Hongjun. The eldest brother could easily suppress Hongjun, while the butcher and the scholar were each slightly stronger than him in one-on-one combat. But whenever the butcher and the scholar went together, their combined strength was enough to send Hongjun running for his life in absolute misery. Outside Xiao Palace, Haoqin and Yaoqi stood there, completely bewildered. They couldn't understand why a woodcutter, a butcher, and a scholar kept showing up every few days to challenge their master. Soon after, deafening sounds of impact and commotion would erupt from within the palace. For 30,000 long years, the three brothers took turns storming Xiao Palace without missing a single day. Whenever Hongjun reached his breaking point and could take no more, he would order Haoqin and Yaoqi to fetch spirit treasures from the Fenbao Cliff and gift them to the trio. After 3 decades of relentless beatings, Hongjun's life had become a living nightmare. Every single day was filled with agonizing dread. As time flew by, Hongjun finally breathed a sigh of relief during his third sermon, when he realized the men from Hulu village had stopped showing up. I calculated the timeline, and knowing it was time for the Dao Ancestor's third sermon, I said to my brothers and sisters, "This is it. The old geezer Hongjun is holding his third lecture. He's going to be handing out treasures, so why don't you all just go and move that entire Fenbao Cliff back here?" Surprisingly, no one budged. Usually the butcher was the most enthusiastic about treasures, but now he seemed completely uninterested. There had to be a reason for this. With a confused look, I couldn't help but ask why they weren't going. The scholar third brother looked at me with a wide grin and said, "For the past 30,000 years, every time we gave that old geezer Hongjun a good thrashing, he would have someone take a piece of treasure from the Fenbao Cliff and give it to us. There aren't many treasures left on that cliff, and whatever remains is just low-tier junk, not even worth the effort of taking." I could only twitch my mouth in a bitter, helpless smile. All these years I had been eagerly waiting to bring the Fenbao Cliff home to Hulu village. Who would have thought that the eldest, the butcher, and the scholar had already cleaned the place out long ago? Inside Xiao Palace, the Dao Ancestor brought out the Taiji diagram, the Pangu banner, and the 4 immortal slaughtering swords to gift to the 3 pure ones one by one, and then offered a few more treasures to Nuwa, Jayin, and Junti. The 3,000 guests in attendance watched with eyes burning with jealousy, and quickly followed the example of Jayin and Junti, prostrating themselves on the ground and begging, "Master, please show mercy, and bestow some spirit treasures upon us as well." Ever since Hongjun passed down the method of severing the 3 courses, spirit treasures have become more important than ever. After all, the technique requires a spirit treasure to anchor one's obsessions. The Dao Ancestor said calmly, "There are still a few treasures left outside on the treasure cliff. Rely on your own abilities to claim them." No sooner had his words faded than the 3,000 guests of the Red Dust went into a frenzy, rushing out all at once. But as they reached the treasure cliff, they were all left dumbfounded. On the vast expanse of the cliff, there were only a handful of items left, and they were all common junk, not a single decent innate spirit treasure to be found. What is going on here? How can this even be called a treasure cliff? The 3,000 guests stood there in total confusion, thinking that a place called the Treasure Cliff should definitely be overflowing with riches. But the scene before them left them completely devastated. This Dao Ancestor is far too stingy. I am Nuwa. Today I attain sainthood through the creation of humanity, and I intend to open a small world within the chaos. All those with affinity are welcome to witness it. One day, auspicious waters descended from the sky, golden lotuses sprouted from the earth, and countless strange phenomena suddenly appeared. Immediately after, the magnificent voice of Goddess Nua resonated across the horizon. In the days that followed, one strange phenomenon after another appeared. The six saints attained enlightenment one after another, and from that moment on, the outside world entered the Age of Saints. The era of the Wu and Yao dominance was gone forever, yet Hulu village remained as peaceful as ever. Of course, during this time, from the bodies of my fourth brother, fifth brother, and sixth sister, terrifying auras began to erupt. It was clear that the three of them had also become saints, one after another. While I continued to pour my efforts into absorbing the purple mist within the purple gourd, and the day of my manifestation drew ever closer. Today I finally absorbed every last bit of the purple mist inside the gourd. My spirit surged with excitement, and I shouted, "Brothers and sisters, I am finally about to take human form." Hearing this, everyone in Hulu village was overjoyed, and all eyes were fixed firmly on the purple gourd. From the primordial era of the great beasts and the beginning of the world, until the Age of Saints when the great Wu Yao calamity ended, how could anyone not be excited? Suddenly, the purple gourd radiated an unparalleled purple aura, blindingly brilliant, with waves of primordial energy rippling outward. With a deafening boom, the purple gourd broke free from its vine, slamming into the ground and carving out a massive crater. A heartbeat later, the gourd's lid swung open, releasing a thick plume of purple mist. As the mist cleared, a figure stood tall and imposing like a mountain pine, revealing refined and delicate facial features. With black hair flowing behind him and dressed in purple robes, he stood as a handsome young master, radiating an aura of the great Dao. Seventh brother has finally taken human form. The sixth sister cheered, bubbling over with joy. The second brother, the butcher, watched with glowing eyes, letting out a roar of excitement. "Ha ha, seventh brother, I've been waiting for this day for so long." The others gathered around, laughing and sharing in the celebration. Just as I was about to speak, an overwhelming, incomparable surge of power seized my physical body, forcibly pushing my consciousness into the dark corners of my mind. Simultaneously, an endless aura of the great Dao erupted from my being, with purple energy surging behind me and my eyes turning cold and emotionless. Every movement, every word, and even a single glance felt like it carried the weight of the universe, embodying the very laws of the great Dao. What the hell? Has the great Dao possessed my body, or am I being completely overwritten? I was terrified, screaming endlessly in the darkness, but not a soul could hear my cries. I had always known there was a terrifying entity within me, and it was highly likely to be an avatar of the great Dao. After all, when the system was attacked by the great Dao years ago, it had no choice but to merge with the immortal gourd vine. Although the system had exhausted its energy to summon my 6 siblings, it had also sealed the great Dao's avatar inside me. I never expected that the moment of my transformation would be the very moment this avatar would steal my body. Naturally, this had been the great Dao's scheme all along. The great Dao is formless and invisible. While it exists everywhere, it lacks a true physical vessel. Now that it had found my body, it wasn't about to let go so easily. Damn it, my eldest brother was the first to notice that something was wrong. With a fierce roar, he launched himself into the air, his hands weaving complex seals as he struck toward me. At the same time, the second brother, the butcher, the third brother, the scholar, as well as my fourth, fifth, and sixth siblings, realized that something had gone terribly wrong. One after another, they flew into a frenzy and began forming hand seals, slamming a powerful seal directly into my body. An infinite aura erupted from within me, as waves of deathly light surged forward, violently clashing against their seal. Both sides collided with intensity, neither willing to back down even an inch. Hang in there, everyone. I'm putting everything I have into breaking free, desperate to reclaim control of my own body. As every second ticked by, this brutal confrontation only grew more intense. Finally, Big Brother and the others managed to seize the advantage, successfully suppressing the great Dao avatar. And at that exact moment, I finally regained control over my body. Big Brother and the others staggered, their energy levels clearly drained from the exertion. Thank you all. I am truly grateful from the bottom of my heart, and I bowed to them in respect. Even if these people were likely summoned by the system specifically to deal with the great Dao avatar, and even if they had their own missions they were bound to fulfill, seeing them risk their lives and charge into battle for my sake still filled my heart with a profound sense of warmth, because to me, they are truly my family in this world. Hey, little brother, what are you saying? We are one family, after all. The second brother, the butcher, flashed a wide grin, revealing his gleaming white teeth. The third brother, the scholar, wobbled over to me and said with a smile, "We're family. We would risk our lives to save you regardless of the cost." Big Brother walked over with a solemn expression on his face and said, "Seventh brother, even though we have managed to seal the great Dao avatar, you must remember that you are absolutely forbidden from messing with the 6 layers of the seal within your body. Otherwise, the power of the great Dao avatar will only grow stronger until one day, even we will be powerless to stop it. I curled my lips into a slight smile. Yes, I understand. Thank you, big brother. I have etched your words into my mind. Seventh brother, from now on, we will come back periodically to reinforce the seal for you. Understood, big brother. I replied with a respectful nod. Although this transformation was a heart-stopping ordeal, luckily, I made it through safely. However, a bold and dangerous thought began to take root in my mind. Since the great Dao avatar tried to possess me, why shouldn't I try to turn the tables and possess him instead? It's true that with my current weak strength, I stand no chance of resisting the full power of the great Dao avatar, but I can break the seal bit by bit, tapping into the leaking power of the great Dao and making it my own, and in doing so, elevating my own strength. This is what it means to borrow power from the great Dao. It is an utterly insane idea. One small slip-up and I would be crushed into dust. If my eldest brother and the others knew I was planning this, they would likely cough up blood from the shock. It is an incredibly dangerous gamble. Yet I believe this method is actually feasible. In a dire emergency, I could even borrow a massive surge of the great Dao's strength, much like the relationship between Dr. Banner and the Hulk. Since the great Dao is sealed within my body, I can channel its power in a pinch to deal with my enemies. Even a sage, or perhaps even a Dao Ancestor, could be taught a lesson they won't soon forget. After all, the entity resting inside me is none other than the supreme, omnipotent great Dao itself. In a certain sense, one could say I am an invincible existence. I am even considering negotiating with the great Dao. If we can reach an agreement, I will be truly unstoppable. Suddenly, the demonic enchantress walked over and scrutinized me from head to toe. Oh my, seventh brother, you are looking rather weak. How are you only at the early stage of the true immortal realm? I offered a bitter, sheepish smile, my face turning crimson with embarrassment. Who could blame me when I have the great Dao inside me, draining away all my energy? That is the only reason I am stuck at the true immortal level. Everyone in the Hulu village manifests as a quasi-sage at the very least, or a great Luo immortal at their lowest. Yet here I am at the true immortal level. I feel like I'm a complete disgrace to our village. That won't do. I must find a way to nourish you. Though fifth brother's face had gone pale, he grabbed a large iron ladle and headed out of the village for my sake. I don't know how much time had passed before fifth brother finally returned. He was carrying a golden dragon on his shoulder, and with a wide grin, he said, "Seventh brother, this dragon is a relic from the ancient era. I'm gonna make you some dragon stew right now." With that, fifth brother dragged the dragon straight toward the kitchen. I heard a roar echo in the distance. Who dares to lay a hand on the people of my demon clan? Just then, a voice like rolling thunder boomed through the air, and a beam of fire shot in from outside. As the flames dissipated, a figure in red robes appeared, holding a Could this guy actually be Donghuang Taiyi? But clearly, even Donghuang Taiyi is wary of the two great rivers outside the village, not daring to cross them at all. Oh, this guy actually looks pretty decent. Stewing this guy would definitely be more nourishing than that dragon from before. Seeing Donghuang Taiyi, our master's eyes lit up with excitement. I was left completely stunned. The man who arrived is Donghuang Taiyi, known as the most powerful being beneath the sages themselves. Yet our master wants to throw him into a stew pot. One truly cannot use normal logic to measure the people of Hulu village. Outside the village, Donghuang Taiyi heard these words. His figure stumbled, and he was so furious he nearly lost control of himself. Shouting back, "Today this emperor wants to see exactly how you plan to stew me." He is the dignified Donghuang Taiyi, a figure whom even the six sages treat with a measure of respect, and yet this fat old master before him actually wants to cook him. This was truly the limit of what any man could endure. Instantly, Donghuang Taiyi flew into a violent rage, let out a thunderous roar, and swung the chaos bell into the air. As he unleashed it, the chaos bell flew out, instantly transforming into a colossal artifact stretching for hundreds of millions of miles, slamming directly down onto the master's head. I curled my lip in silence, genuinely worried for our master. This Donghuang Taiyi certainly lives up to his legendary reputation, rightfully earning his title as the most terrifying powerhouse beneath the sages during the Wu Yao era. Yet, a split second later, the master swung the giant iron ladle in his hand, and with a single strike against the chaos bell, it let out a mournful clang, bouncing backward with immense force, shattering a massive mountain range stretching for hundreds of millions of miles in the distance. The young master gleefully rushed toward Donghuang Taiyi. "Lao Wu, don't commit such slaughter." At that very moment, the voice of the eldest brother echoed out. Donghuang Taiyi had long since been scared out of his wits, and not daring to linger a moment longer, he hurriedly shifted into his true form as a three-legged golden crow, flapped his wings once, and vanished into a streak of blazing light, fleeing toward the distant horizon. But as fast as he was, the master was even faster. The master soared into the air, grabbed one of Donghuang Taiyi's legs, and ripped it straight off. The three-legged golden crow had just turned into a two-legged fire chicken. Watching this, my face twitched uncontrollably. With a soul-piercing scream of agony, Dong Huangtai unleashed a secret technique, desperately transforming into a streak of light to flee into the distance. Seventh brother, here's a massive power-up for you. The master trotted into the village, lugging the giant bird leg over his shoulder, clearly thrilled. Before long, a pot of delicious golden crow soup was ready. The master served the soup, eyes crinkling as he grinned. Seventh brother, drink up! This stuff is incredibly potent. I curled my lip, took the bowl, and helplessly drank it all down. Almost immediately, a surge of warmth rushed through my entire body. Suddenly, a terrifyingly intense flame erupted from my skin, burning so fiercely that the very space around me began to warp and twist. It was the true sunfire. I was absolutely ecstatic. I never imagined that by eating the golden crow's leg and drinking its broth, I would actually cultivate the true sunfire. To make things even better, my cultivation level took a massive leap forward. I had officially broken through to the mid-stage of the true immortal realm. The following days in the village became much livelier thanks to my presence. My favorite thing to do was jump into the two great rivers outside the village to fish for treasures. The group of butchers had tossed a countless number of treasures into those two rivers. We had been drooling over them ever since before we could even take human form. Now that I could shift my form, I certainly wasn't going to let them go to waste. Furthermore, because I had merged with the essence energy of my 6 siblings while still in the gourd, I could swim through the two great rivers as easily as a fish in water. This bead. One day I pulled a strange glowing stone bead out of the river. Suddenly, the figure of my eldest brother appeared beside me, his eyes fixed intently on the bead in my hand. As he exclaimed, "This is the Chaos Bead, one of the 4 great treasures of the Chaos." Hearing that, I was absolutely overwhelmed with joy. I quickly stowed the bead away, knowing that among all the legendary treasures in the primordial world, the 4 great Chaos treasures stood at the very top. However, the Pangu Axe, the Chaos Green Lotus, and the Creation Jade Plate had all been damaged during the Great Cataclysm of Creation. Only the Chaos Bead had remained missing and unaccounted for, and yet here I was, fishing it out of a river. In other words, this Chaos Bead is the one and only supreme treasure of Chaos, truly deserving the title of King of 10,000 Treasures. And now, this King of Treasures belongs to me. No one was more thrilled by my birth than Little Ba. Ever since I was born, the other elders in the village pressured Little Ba to hand over his soul-bound essence. Having no other choice, Little Ba reluctantly surrendered his soul to me. From that moment on, his life and death rested entirely within my will. However, thanks to that arrangement, Little Ba also gained the freedom to enter and leave the village as he pleased. While I swam around fishing for treasures in the two great rivers, Little Ba would just lie under the massive willow tree outside the village, drifting off to sleep. The moment the Chaos Bead touched my hand, a vast ancient aura from the Primordial Era swept through my entire body. The great Dao avatar that had been sealed within me began to stir faintly. It was trembling with an extreme, insatiable hunger for the power of chaos and its origins. My heart stirred, but I did not try to suppress this agitation by force. Instead, I followed the path of that guiding energy, drawing a thread of chaotic aura into my body, carefully and meticulously attempting to make contact with the great Dao avatar. This was the first step I had been plotting for so long. Using the supreme chaotic treasure as bait, I aimed to merge my own power with the great Dao avatar, rather than relying solely on the seals created by my older siblings. My eldest brother stood nearby, not interfering, his eyes locked onto the Chaos Bead in my hand, with a tone that was both grave and full of expectation. The Chaos Bead is the king of 10,000 treasures. It can suppress the instability of the great Dao avatar. Refine it well, and whatever you do, do not be impatient. I nodded and kept the Chaos Bead close to me. I could feel this supreme treasure constantly channeling a gentle, chaotic energy into my body, not only nourishing my physical form but also silently reinforcing the seals within me, making the boundary between myself and the great Dao avatar even more distinct. Over the next 1,000 years, I spent my time fishing for treasures in the two great rivers, refining items like the sea-stabilizing god beads, the purple heaven sword, and the Qiankun cauldron, things my siblings had tossed aside as mere playthings, all while secretly searching for a way to coexist with the great Dao avatar. The time origin provided by my second brother allowed me to freeze time within the great rivers, giving me the chance to meticulously explore the mysteries of each treasure. The past and future origins from my third brother helped me glimpse the history of the great Dao avatar. He didn't want to completely possess me. He simply craved a physical vessel to house his consciousness so he could escape his intangible, invisible shackles. He could not interfere with the natural flow of the primordial world. Having grasped the true intentions of the great Dao avatar, I began. Under the protection of the Chaos Bead, I submerged my consciousness deep into my own body, confronting that surging, unparalleled great Dao power, and said in a low voice, "I know you crave this physical form, But you must help me cultivate. Stop plotting to possess my body, and never again lay a hand on my family." As I spoke, the great Tao power within me churned violently for a moment, before transmitting a vague telepathic thought, sounding as much like an agreement as it did a challenge. Since that day, the great Tao clone and I have maintained a delicate balance. I borrow his immense power. My cultivation has progressed in leaps and bounds, vaulting from the mid-stage of true immortal to the peak of quasi-saint in just a mere 1,000 years, far surpassing the cultivation levels of everyone else in Hulu Village at the time of their incarnation. Meanwhile, the great Tao clone uses my physical vessel to slowly acclimate to the rules of the primordial world, and occasionally, he even uses my hands to mend minor rifts in the fabric of the primordial heavens, all while accumulating the primordial essence for himself. The incident occurred during one of my routine treasure fishing trips. At that moment, I was retrieving a shard of the immortal slaying sword from the River of Time, which my second brother had set up. Years ago, when my second and third brothers seized the immortal slaying sword, it was so sharp and volatile that they found it troublesome to handle, so they tossed it into the river. Suddenly, a deafening explosion erupted from the distance, accompanied by the thunderous roar of Dao Ancestor Hongjun and the mournful wails of the remnants of the demon clan. My heart tightened as I hurriedly stowed the shard away and led Xiao Ba toward the source of the chaos. I arrived to see Hongjun at the foot of Mount Buzhou, locked in a fierce battle with the remains of the demon clan, Zixiao's sword in hand. It turned out that after the Eastern Emperor Taiyi lost a leg, although his wounds had healed, he could never swallow his rage, and had been secretly rallying the surviving demons and monsters across the primordial world, plotting an ambush on Hongjun, intending to reclaim the treasures stolen from them years ago, and even attempting to overthrow the reign of the sages, to rebuild the demon heavenly court. While Hongjun is already a primordial sage, he could not withstand the reckless suicidal onslaught of the demon forces, leaving his body riddled with fresh wounds, while his all-heaven celebration clouds grew dim and unstable. "Seventh brother, why have you come here?" Just at that moment, the second and third brothers arrived, bringing along the fourth, fifth, and sixth siblings. The second brother was still clutching a pair of butcher knives in his hands, his expression full of patience as he remarked, "This fire chicken really doesn't know when to quit, does it? Daring to come out and cause trouble again. Let's see if I can't rip off its remaining leg to make a stew this time." The third brother stroked his beard, his gaze fixed firmly on Donghuang Taiyi, and with a smirk he said, "Perfect timing. We didn't manage to snatch his chaos fragment last time, but this time we are definitely taking it for ourselves." Seeing us, Donghuang Taiyi's eyes burned red as he let out a thunderous roar. "Back then you destroyed my physical body and stole my treasures. Today, I will make sure you are all ground into dust." No sooner had he finished speaking than he ignored Hongjun's attempts to stop him, burning his remaining solar divine fire to transform into a colossal three-legged golden crow, charging straight toward us. Having consumed the life essence of the demon clan to break through to the early sage realm, Donghuang Taiyi's power was even more terrifying than in the past. The eldest brother's figure flickered as he stepped firmly in front of us. The heaven-opening divine axe appeared instantly in his grip, its light exploding outward. A single swing shattered more than half of Donghuang Taiyi's solar flames. But Donghuang Taiyi had completely lost his mind by now, and without hesitation he burned his own life essence to fuel the chaos fragment, unleashing a bell toll that shook the very heavens and earth, causing all of us to stumble and lose our footing. The eldest brother's expression remained stoic, though he knew the heaven-opening divine axe, despite its strength, would struggle to take down a foe, burning his own essence so quickly. And over on Hongjun's side, he too was finding it increasingly difficult to fend off the coordinated assault of the demon army. I knew it was time to unleash the power of my Dao avatar. I closed my eyes, sinking my consciousness deep within my body to transmit my will to the avatar. The Dao avatar did not hesitate, and in an instant, the surging power of the great Dao flooded through my entire body. My eyes ignited with a violet glow, and a sea of dark energy erupted from behind me, causing the space around us to warp and twist, every word and movement now infused with the absolute laws of the great Dao. "Stop!" I roared, my voice echoing across the entire Buzhou mountain. Whether it was Donghuang Taiyi in the heat of battle, or Hongjun and the demon clan warriors, everyone froze in place, as if they had been shackled by an unstoppable divine force. Donghuang Taiyi's face turned pale with shock, staring at me in disbelief. "What is this power? Why does it make me feel such profound terror?" He can clearly feel that the power radiating from me far surpasses that of a primordial saint, and is even several times more terrifying than the great god Pangu of old. This is the supreme and ultimate power of the great Dao. I walk forward slowly, and with a single flick of my hand, an invisible force of the great Dao binds the entire demon clan, rendering them completely unable to move. Donghuang Tai refuses to surrender, exerting all his might to activate the chaos shards in a desperate attempt to break free from the shackles, but I dismissively shatter the shards with a casual wave of my hand, the shockwave obliterating the very foundation of his existence, leaving his physical form to wither away into nothingness. You plotted to overthrow the order of the primordial world and slaughtered the innocent. Today, I shall cripple your cultivation, cast you into the cycle of reincarnation, and ensure you never find peace again. I say in a low, cold voice, sweeping a bolt of purple light into the body of Donghuang Tai, completely stripping away every ounce of his cultivation, and casting his soul into the cycle of reincarnation. After dealing with Donghuang Tai, I turn my gaze toward the remnants of the demon clan, my tone icy as I declare, from this day forth, the demon clan shall no longer cause chaos. Anyone who dares to violate this order will be shown no mercy. The members of the demon clan are trembling in sheer terror, rushing to kneel and beg for forgiveness. All of them collectively vowing their absolute submission, never daring to act out against the order ever again. I wave my hand to signal my fourth brother to take action, ordering him to scatter these demons to every corner of the primordial world, commanding them to guard the living beings of each region, so they may redeem themselves for their past transgressions. Hongjun approaches me, bowing low in a gesture of deep respect, his former dignity as the Dao Ancestor nowhere to be found. Many thanks, fellow Taoist, for your life-saving intervention. Hongjun is overwhelmed with gratitude, adding, please forgive my many offenses today. I smile faintly and reply, Dao Ancestor, there is no need for such formalities. Maintaining the order of the primordial world is a mutual understanding between myself and the great Dao. From now on, I hope you will focus on managing Xiao Palace, teaching your disciples, and letting go of the grudges of the past. Hongjun nods repeatedly, presents me with a shard of the Jade of Creation, and then turns back to return to Xiao Palace. Upon returning to Hulu Village, my eldest brother looks at me, his face filled with a relieved smile. Seventh brother, you have finally succeeded. Not only have you mastered the power of the great Dao, but you have also understood the true meaning of responsibility. My second brother claps me on the shoulder and laughs. Well done, kid. You're even better than your eldest brother now. Elder sister Lu approached with a smile, handing me a purple robe she had stitched with her own hands. Seventh brother, now that you are the supreme being of the primordial world, you deserve a proper outfit. Looking at my family before me, a profound warmth filled my heart. If it hadn't been for their protection and constant support throughout these years, I would have long been possessed by the great Dao clone, and I certainly would not have achieved the level of success I have today. With a wave of my hand, the Chaos Pearl hovered in midair, casting a gentle light that enveloped the entire Calabash village. Eldest brother, second brother, third brother, fourth brother, fifth brother, elder sister, and little eight, this is our home. I will use the power of the great Dao to guard Calabash village, protecting us so that we can always remain together, never to be disturbed by anyone ever again. From that day forward, I became the universally recognized supreme being of the primordial world, and no one dared to offend me. I did not seek to rule the primordial world, nor did I establish my own faction. I simply remained stationed in Calabash village. Most days, I would either join my siblings in peaceful cultivation, or take little eight to the two great rivers to fish for treasures, occasionally stepping in to settle the conflicts of the primordial realm and safeguarding the peace of all living beings. The relationship between myself and the great Dao clone grew increasingly harmonious. Through my physical body, he began to slowly manifest a consciousness uniquely his own. He was no longer a cold force obsessed with possession, but had instead become my most capable ally. Together, we contemplated the great Dao and nurtured the primordial world, bringing more tranquility to this vast land. Calabash village itself became a sacred ground within the primordial world, which no one dared to intrude upon. Occasionally, those with destined connections would pass by, but they could only watch from a distance, feeling the serene aura of the Dao emanating from within the village. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and the primordial world has become increasingly prosperous. Every sage now carries out their respective duties. All living beings live in peace and contentment, and large-scale wars are a thing of the past. Big Brother still spends his days chopping wood to protect the village, while the second and third brothers occasionally head to the Xiao Palace to debate the Dao with Hongjun. Fourth brother remains stoic and quiet, spending his days capturing wandering spirits to nourish the lives of those in the village. Fifth brother is still a massive foodie, constantly busy experimenting with all sorts of delicious delicacies. Sixth sister keeps the Hulu village tidy and organized, and little eighth brother has finally moved past being bullied, becoming a guardian of the village himself. Sometimes, he even joins me on my travels throughout the primordial realm. Today, I sit beneath the immortal gourd vine, fiddling with the chaos pearl in my hand, watching my family laugh and talk, feeling a sense of absolute peace in my heart. I reflect on the moment I first transmigrated here. slipping into a million-year slumber, protected all the while by my brothers and sisters, playing a game of chess against the avatar of the great Dao, until we finally achieved symbiosis, safeguarding my family and protecting this vast primordial world. As the sun begins to set, rays of golden light wash over every corner of Hulu Village. The immortal gourd vine remains lush and vibrant, radiating a thick heavenly Dao aura. Two mighty rivers surround our home, their waters shimmering, hiding treasures beyond counting. I know deep down that this is the ending I have always desired. With my family by my side and the great Dao as my companion, free from the entanglements of worldly strife, I have no regrets. From this day forward, I am the Gourd of Faith, the supreme being of the primordial, and the seventh brother of Hulu Village, watching over my family and protecting this primordial land that I love so deeply for all of eternity.